Right now, and I believe we're live. Hey, David, can you go ahead and put the title in for the Facebook Live video, please, when you get a chance?
Certainly, I'll get on that right away. And I can tell it's going to be we're going to have a show with a lot of information and the most important information. So.
Yeah, this is absolutely the most important information of the week. And David, also, how's that sound? It sounds pretty decent. I'm going to turn up the volume on my old school. Yeah, go ahead, David, so we can hear.
The sound is great on your end. Just keep going, and hopefully, as I keep talking, you'll be able to hear me.
Okay, all right. And David's going to go and he's going to start sharing it after he puts the title down, which we'll give you right now. The title of tonight's show is Synagogue Caravan, False Flags, Martial Law, Agenda 21, Civil War. So, yeah, the most important part of the show is the fact that David puts this out, and it's seen by thousands and thousands of people every week. And all we can say is within minutes of events happening, we put it out there to thousands of people. You know, I don't really appreciate those folks out there that sit back and wait for me to decode some sort of government crime, and then they make lots of money off of it by taking what I say to gain smart people, to get them on their side, and then twist it in some sort of way, or act like a fool, or any number of different things that they do to obfuscate what we're telling you is the obvious truth. So we're going to get right to it. This episode, again, is called Synagogue, Caravan, False Flags, Martial Law, Agenda 21, Civil War. David and Clifford are going to join, and we're just going to start in with that. I'm a man called Chris Dorsey of the Virginia Militia. We expose the criminal nature of this out of control government, and we do it in a very obvious, verifiable manner. And you know, we even see we see everything that is going on with this criminal, out of control government. And if you believe the synagogue in Pittsburgh called the Tree of Life Synagogue was shot up by some dude on some social media outlet that I've only heard of from really unusual sources, and I had another one telling me to get off Facebook. One of the guests I had on the show, Presley Benson, the last message she sent me was basically like, you should get off of Facebook and go on Gab. I don't know if I'd even ever heard of Gab before that, but I thought that was really weird that there's that connection. But we're going to get into every element of this fake as anything, fake as fill in your own expletive, so-called Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. No proof whatsoever that it took place. There are guards there. They had drills. The Secretary of Homeland Security visited the synagogue after well-publicized drills, live shooter drills at the same place. Folks inside the building, alleged survivors of this alleged attack, participated in the drill that was held in January, the end of January, I believe, of this year, at the same location. Then following that, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, which controls the continuity of government operations, the COP, when Alex Jones misleads you and say, it's Rex 84. Yeah, it's Rex 84, and it's so many other things. This is, to put it in a broad spectrum, this is UN Agenda 21. You can say UN Agenda 2020, UN Agenda 2030, whatever, 2050, whatever you want to say. UN Agenda 21 is the most comprehended by the listenership of this program, and basically you don't even need to say that. It's all member governments of the United Nations in a one world organized Jewish criminal syndicate run apparatus backed financially by something called the Bank for International Settlements, using something called the United Nations as a world governing body. Of course, the BIS also uses the SWIFT system, SWIFT, SWIFT system. It uses the IMF and the World Bank because it's the lender of last resort for the IMF and the World Bank. It's the lender of last resort for all the lenders of last resort. So in America, the lender of last resort is the Federal Reserve Bank. In the European Union, it's the ECB. In Japan, it's the Bank of Japan. In China, it's the People's Bank of China. In Russia, it's the Bank of Russia, etc., etc., etc. Those are the lender of last resorts for all these nation states that are just one. And the lender of last resorts for all of the lender of last resorts is the Bank for International Settlements, which sets all the relevant economic levers of control for all the private central banks of the world, which and I'm speaking, of course, of Basel III, or the Basel III Accord, which sets the capitalization rates and every other significant economic power point of power. Every interest rate, every ability to capitalize, and also it's the lender of last resort. It's the backstop, and it holds 10% of the reserves for all the central banks of the world. So, in any event, we explain to you every week about the Bank for International Settlements and how it works. It works hand in glove with the United Nations, which controls all the member states. We tell you how none of these countries, like Russia and China and the United States, are warring factions in any sort of way. All of the modern wars and the wars going back to what they call the Napoleonic Wars, the Battle of Waterloo, the Duke of Wellington versus Napoleon Bonaparte, etc., etc. They're all financed from the same source in this Rothschild central banking cartel. The lender of last resort at that time, not to the central banks of the world, but to the royal houses of Europe. And after the royal houses of Europe, they used the same operations that are used today. They haven't changed over the centuries. The drug wars, opium wars in the Pacific, and that's how they gain control of places that they hadn't infiltrated or hadn't in a modern time fully controlled, like Japan and China and the Far East, the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, the conquistadors, controlled by Jesuit coadjutor, crypto Jew Jesuit coadjutors, etc., etc., etc. We got a lot of folks watching, and we are going to get to that. But right now, let's go through the. We're gonna go in this order. We're gonna go through and read the description, and then we're going to break down a lot of the breaking news over the week. The news about the arrest of this guy, Caesar Sayoc. And last week, right before we went to air, you know, I mean, things change all the time. They're constantly changing these stories. I've got CNN on in the background. That's what they do at the Department of Defense. So that's what I do. I do what my enemy does as far as spying on their network. So I'm always spying on CNN and MSNBC and Fox to see what kind of nonsense they're forwarding. But I heard minutes before going on that this guy, Caesar Sayoc, who they're calling a white supremacist Seminole Indian, and now also, we said this last week. I didn't hear anybody else really focusing too much on this. We said this guy, word is on the street, CNN, then PBS, then a couple other places reporting that this guy, Sayoc, that's not his real name, and he is not a Seminole Indian at all, but he is half Filipino. So we have a half Filipino white supremacist who loves Donald Trump but is anti-Semitic. Okay, so we kind of pointed that fallacy out last week. This guy's anti-Semitic, but he likes Trump. Trump's his guy. So then they go like, okay, here's the setup. And the setup is when everything the American people know is wrong, our misinformation campaign will be complete. That's the motto of the intelligence agencies. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, that's just fun. Reminds me of the Orlando shooting event, which was, I'll let everybody know, that's when I first came across Chris. But anyway, the guy, Omar Fatin, not only they want us to believe that he shot 50 people by himself, but this guy was so radicalized. He was such a devout Muslim. He shot up the place, and not only that, he worked for G4S Security, and he was gay.
Yeah. He worked for G4S Security. He was gay, and he was an actor. Because there's lots of actors in Orlando.
Yes.
Because of the location with Disney, and Disney has a lot to do with these staged events, these false flags, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, Sayoc, we kind of blew that out of the water last week. They're calling this guy a white supremacist, and the story is that he's a Seminole Indian. Then the next story, which seems to be more accurate, is that he is half Filipino or mostly Filipino, or I'm not sure exactly. I haven't seen his 23andMe genetic breakdown. I haven't seen his Ancestry.com, but word is this guy is not a white supremacist, and he also this seems to be fake in every sort of way. We went through that last week, but I just wanted to connect the mail bomb hoax that we put out last week with this really ridiculously, absurdly fake synagogue shooting, and that is that the alleged shooter, Robert Bowers, as we pointed out in the video, what's that video called? I think it's the video called Rothschild. No, wait a second. Pittsburgh. Let's see. Synagogue shoot. Anyway, there's a video on Militia Intelligence Report number 2 and on Blazga_USA Live Leak and on Documentary Vids on Live Leak. Anyways, you can find it. We pointed out because you can watch it in the video. You can listen to me here. The information's out there, so it doesn't really matter where you get it from. We always say it first. Everybody else is real dishonorable. When I get tips on information, unless somebody tells me they are not going, they don't want their name mentioned on a tip that I get. In which case I always say, hey, I didn't come up with this. But unless I say I'm not the one that came up with this, I'm the one that came up with these things, exposing the false flags immediately and first. Always. Not just over the past year, not just over the past 2 years, not just over the past 3 years, not just over the past 4 years. And not only am I the first, but then I go out on the only international television news network in the world, and I paint a clearer picture than anybody else who alleges in any way to expose the crimes of the government and these false flag events and martial law and UN Agenda 21 and chemtrails and Israel and the Jewish conspiracy and the Jewish problem and the solution to the Jewish problem, which is simply enforcing the law of the land. When it comes down to it, we always come full circle. All one needs to do is restore the English common law. What does that mean? It means restore the Constitution for the United States. It means restore the law of the land here in Virginia, which is what? That's Virginia Constitution. And what is the most important part of that? That's the Declaration of Rights. And the only thing that enforcing the Constitution, enforcing the Declaration of Rights shall do, it shall take all the levers of power away from the criminals that hold them now and put them into the hands of the people. It will restore God's law. God creates man, man creates government. Man can never be subject to the government. One thing I did not put in our discussion today, we're going to talk about the 14th Amendment and how they're totally obfuscating the problem with the 13th and 14th Amendment. Those are unconstitutional. Those are unlawful. It goes against the basis of God's law. You see, we're going to get into all this just by reading the description, and then I'll proceed further with each topic of discussion. Let's see. David and Clifford verify the Chris Dorsey, David Dauterive, and Clifford Eberhardt verify the high treason carried out by the institutions which control all governments, corporations, and so-called religious non-profit 501c3 corporations. The Trojan horse, false flag operations. Let's see. The Trojan horse, false flag operations of the Jewish mob/mafia, organized crime syndicate, fake mail bombs, the Caravan, and the absurdly staged Tree of Life Synagogue false flag shootings, which are being used to escalate martial law, civil war, by deploying troops inside the USA in order to unleash FEMA camps, which shall with 2 L's, shall first be used for migrants. That should say migrants. Then the rest of the people who oppose the criminal government. All right, let's go back and read this. Okay. So the absurdly this is going to be the main topics here. The Trojan horse false flag operations of the Jewish Mafia/mob, organized crime syndicate, fake mail bombs, the Caravan, and the absurdly staged Tree of Life false flag shooting, which are being used to escalate martial law and civil war by deploying troops inside the USA in order to unleash FEMA camps. FEMA DHS camps, continuity of operations, continuity of government. This is all in the plan. Which shall first be used for migrants, then the rest of the people who oppose the criminal government. Okay. All government officials, corporate officers, leaders of all 501c3 churches, judges, police, military, and their bosses, which are all millionaires and billionaires, are an affront to God and the law, guilty of treason. Let's see. Treason for waging war against the people and are fugitives from the law. The Constitution requires requires the abolition of the United Nations and all member states. The law of the land, based on the King James Version of the Bible, inspired English common law-based constitution, must be restored by giving authority over currency, weapons of war, and the public airwaves rightfully to the people. The enemies of the people of God must be lawfully destroyed. Okay. So, there you have it. There it is for everyone to see. We're gonna, let's do this. Let's do this like we should do every week and put this up on in the Facebook chat. In the Facebook chat, because we don't want to be misconstrued by anything.
I'll do that for you.
Okay, thanks. We're not going to be misconstrued. We're not going to be wait until that stuff's saved so we can get all the changes in there and make sure that it says treason and not reason. Let's see, the law of the land. Let's see, treason. Yeah, and I don't care about the capitalizations. We said it out loud. I wish to tell y'all one thing right now. All law is auricular. It doesn't matter what's written down. All law is auricular. All law is oral. That means it's spoken. Okay, so I wrote this book, and I used as its basis this author, which that's John Locke. This author, this is Rene Descartes, and most importantly, I used these books. This is called The Sacred Tarot. I mean, we read out of this on the program all the time. It's a biblically based text, and it is talking about the basis of all the religions of the world, the religion of the stars, which is the basis of this book. And the basis of the Bible, the King James Version of the Bible, is the Constitution for the United States. And the 5th edition was made after the writings of John Locke. So John Locke wasn't using the 5th and final edition of the King James Version of the Bible. Which we went into last week, that the changes are so inconsequential, especially when considering all law is oral, all law is auricular, and we went through that, and we had some, a lot of jokers are attempting to mislead people when it comes to the true law book. The law book of law books is the King James Version of the Bible, and that all government officials, are commanded to be smited, smite the nations, and there's all sorts of things, but the rod of iron, of course, is arms, is right there connected with the Second Amendment, which doesn't just talk about, hey, Chris, you can go out in public and you can protect yourself, and nobody can take away your right to bear arms. That goes without saying. That wasn't even a topic of discussion among the founding fathers. That was a presumed God-given right, as it is today. And these false flag operations are being used in order to take away the only threat to our enemies having complete control over all of our lives, no freedom, 100% slavery. And it's not like, it's slavery for good. It's slavery to benefit the worst living beings on the planet. I always talk about, or I often talk about, animal rights, and I can definitely say the life of animals is far more important than the lives of these demons that walk amongst us that call themselves human beings. So we're gonna be very clear about that. Let's get into the and that when we say, you know, the government officials, all millionaires and billionaires, all lawyers. We've got lawyers watching the show tonight. I see who's watching. We got cops. We got lawyers watching. We've got government officials. We've got a lot of, maybe fake bots. It looks like, maybe a couple here and there. And persons just using, not real names. And there are people every week that I've known anywhere from a couple years to 35, sometimes 40 years. I'm 44 years old. And, and actually, all of my 44 years, folks watching. So I know who are the real people and what we have done in order to carry out this plan, which is the lawful abolition of the criminal government, restoration of God's law, natural law, the common law, which is in this document, the Constitution for the United States. And you don't need any complex plan. Simple enforcement of the Constitution would result in the execution of all the government officials, all Republicans and Democrats in leadership position, and really just all police officers, all judges and lawyers, all 501c3 false prophet, religious so-called misleaders, and we're not advocating that. You can make a case that you shouldn't be, but that is executed, but that is the baseline. The rational baseline of the Constitution is everything in this criminal government goes against the Constitution, because this is based in the common law, and the common law is based in the idea that God creates man and man creates government. Government is a two-dimensional creation of man. It is a corporate fiction. This is elucidated in numerous places. So I'm just going to read the preamble to the Constitution and then read the 14th Amendment, and I'm going to tell y'all again, as we do. I mean, we've done that dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I see Michael Dick out there. I see lots of other folks. Greetings, Michael Dick. I remember chatting with Michael Dick, and he was talking about my appearance on Republic Broadcasting Network, I think it was, on the what was that guy, Robert Raybould show. I hear that's not that guy's real name. There was some other funny things, but just everybody I deal with, I mean, it's like there's nobody that's for real out there that's reaching. This is the limit. This is where, once you get beyond what we're talking about, you're off in government-controlled territory. This is the only mouthpiece of any people around the world. I've never seen anybody else expose how easy it is to shut down these criminal governments and free yourselves from the bond of debt slavery and mental slavery and literal slavery in this. No matter what happens with anything else, more and more people are being locked up, and they're going to lock more and more people up. That's what these FEMA camps are for. That's what these unguarded prisons are for. It's going to be a pipeline. They're going to put take a pipeline from the DHS using U.S. forces to fill up these FEMA camps, and then they're going to start putting regular Americans in there. So we're going to tell you why the 14th Amendment distraction from Trump is just such a treasonous joke, and Donald Trump is a compromised child rapist, and he is a front for the Chabad Lubavitch organized crime network. In case we don't get a chance to say it again, during the program. Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell ran a child rape network that provided child sex slaves for child prostitutes, whatever you want to call it. I'm not doing it. I didn't make it up. I'm just telling you what's happening, and I'm not going to see this stuff that's like, Mar-a-Lago was the place that Virginia Roberts was recruited by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who then provided her as a child sex slave to the so-called Prince Andrew, the son of the so-called Queen of England. Oh wait, Jeffrey Epstein's a billionaire? Oh, and he owns the largest home in New York, in Manhattan, and has private islands? Alec Baldwin, speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, Alec Baldwin also arrested today. We had the Saturday Night Live psyop going. Maybe when we get to, I saw a Saturday Night Live making money off of dead rock stars. Mike Myers on the Colbert Report on Halloween, and you turn over to NBC, their rival in that time slot, and you got other musicians making money off of dead musicians. You had the remaining live members of the Jewish group, the Beastie Boys, making money off of their sacrificed dead member. And of course, then you turn to Jimmy Kimmel, and who's he got on? He's got on John Stamos. I mean, a lot of folks have covered the I don't even, what's that show that he was on? I mean, I was where he's like the dad, and he's got the two uncles living with him, and basically it's like, you know, all this creepy child rape stuff. Man, I can't believe I don't remember the name of that show. Anyway, lots of folks talk about that as a distraction, but you know, they had Mike Love from the Beach Boys, and of course we know the CIA connections with Charles Manson and the Beach Boys, and there are many founding members of the Beach Boys that are no longer with us, and you know, the Wilson family and what happened to Brian Wilson, where he basically just lost his mind. And then the next generation, you know, with the mamas and the papas children and the Beach Boys children, all these CIA Laurel Canyon operations that go on generation after generation. It's all a big military intelligence operation. That's all it is. So, let's get into this Pittsburgh Synagogue. No, sorry. I forgot. The preamble to the Constitution, and then we'll talk about everything else less important, and how the idea that of the sovereignty of the people over the government is just erased. It's whited out, blacked out, redacted, greened out, whatever they have to do to reach whatever audience that they're doing it to. We the people of the United States, we the people. It doesn't say we the government of the United States. It doesn't say we the drafters of the Constitution for the United States. It says we the people, I'm a people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's the government. The government is the piece of paper. The government is not the rules for the people, but the rules for the servants of the people. And it says so here. And it doesn't just say, oh, these are the rules for the people. That's us right now. It says, we secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves. That's us. That's them. That's our ancestors. and what? Our posterity. That's us right now. And what happens? What do? Is the government creating the people or the people creating the government? That's in the next line after posterity. Do ordain and establish. So if somebody ordains something, can that thing that they ordain all of a sudden go like, oh, wait a second, I'm going to take you over. Like, you established me, but I'm the one that's in charge. So that idea would be absurd, completely absurd before the Civil War. There were free black people and free white people, but they had to label the slaves. They don't have to label a slave, Hey, there's no doubt about it. Americans and the people of the world are slaves to what? The government, money. Those who beat their swords into plowshares shall be slaves to those who do not. It's that simple. All political will comes at the barrel of a gun. Do the people have a militia anymore? Do the people control the nuclear weapons? We're told, last week, a couple weeks ago, we're talking about, oh yeah, they're talking about nuclear war between the US, China, and Russia. And wait a second, what do we do in that case? The Russians are holding drills. They got places underground for all of us. Whose government's better? Neither one are good. Neither one are better. It's just part of the plan. They got the plan. Okay, so we read the preamble to the Constitution for the United States. Now let's read the 14th Amendment in its entirety with emphasis on the part that is the problem that we cover all the time. And if you're fooled by these tricks when somebody's like, oh, Kanye West is talking about the 14th Amendment. Ooh, Donald Trump is talking about the 14th Amendment. And they're talking about all the wrong things. They're referencing like anchor babies, but that's not the key words. All persons. I'm never a person. If you call me a person and you know better, man, that's a treasonable offense. Born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. Stop. Okay, so this is saying if you're a citizen or a person, you're subject to and born or naturalized in the United States, you're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That's not me. Okay, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or prosperity without due process of law. The law doesn't exist anymore once somebody reads that first sentence of the 14th Amendment. The law ceases to exist. There is no law anymore. There's no functioning law. If they're saying this is part of the Constitution for the United States, it's not, because in the Constitution it says you can't, anything that's any treaty or anything that is placed into law or statute in the United States of America, if it goes against the Constitution, it's null and void. So the 14th Amendment is null and void. It doesn't mean anything. There is no Constitution for the United States. This is the Wild West. This is the beginning of civil war. This is what war looks like. It's been going on for a while, but the hot war is starting now. The hot war is starting now. And it's time for the people to seize the levers of power immediately. Now, this is the last show we have before. This is the last program. This is a program. I'm doing my best to program people. I trust my information. I trust my philosophy. I trust my moral compass more than I do when it comes to this subject matter than anybody else. I don't trust anybody else with this information. So this is a program. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
I wanted you to finish for the audience. You were about to say this is the last program.
This is the last program. Yeah, this is the last program before this fake, staged, rigged, fixed election. Hey, thank you, David. I don't want to say this is not the last program. I mean, we do.
Yeah, there'll be many more.
Yeah, I mean, we never stop. And another funny thing is, we've been doing this for more than 2 years now. Every week. Sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 shows. Sometimes we will have 6 and shows every day of the week. But we've been having at least one show every week for 2 years. And before that, thousands and thousands and thousands of videos and interviews on international television, government meetings, FEMA meetings, confronting the criminal police while armed, taking out lawful arrest warrants, taking out lawful arrest orders, etc., etc. And if you vote in an election, I don't know what to tell you. Please, let me get on the line with a voter. Somebody who, number one, thinks that voting is a decent way to govern. It's not. And number two, who thinks that the elections aren't 100% rigged and putting in place, giving tacit approval from less than half of the adult population of this stupid nation state at this point, giving tacit approval to giving authority to the worst human beings available to be put in those positions. I mean, are you kidding? The biggest liars, the most corrupt individual, those involved in child rape networks, not only Donald Trump, but the Clintons. And not just the Clintons, but, I mean, you can't even go through the list. I don't even like to start going down the list again. You've heard them all named here dozens of times. I don't like to name one, because then I'm going to leave out another. Yeah, David, please.
Yeah, look, I mean, Chris has written a book about it. I'm going to read from The Militia the Solution, just one paragraph. The government rules by force. I mean, that's obvious, because that's the way all political will is through force. This compliance through violence is made clear when one views the ever-increasing deadly force exerted by the domestic occupying militarized police forces and murderous multinational war machine, like we're seeing hopped up at the border. I mean, for goodness sake, they don't have to deploy active duty troops at the border to show you that. Look at the police. I mean, the police, you can't tell the difference between the say well these days and the helmets and the riot gear. Anyway, I'll continue. The militia, as it stands now, can beat these government forces fighting a battle on our enemies. We cannot beat these government forces fighting them on our enemies' terms. We can't beat them on their terms. However, with a super and proper tactic, the unlawful government structure will be brought down like a house of cards, just by following a few simple tactics that most people, most smart individuals can contribute to. As members of the militia, it's our duty of all not only to arm themselves with guns, but to also arm themselves with wisdom and a video camera. Video cameras are always important because that's what documents your events anyway and protects their lives. I don't mind if anybody videotapes me anywhere. I mean, I got nothing to hide. I'll even talk to the camera because I'm confident. Usually, anybody you run into that don't want to be voice recorded or doesn't want to be video recorded, they're not a very confident person. You know, they got.
Well, David, let's talk about the most important thing regarding that. If you're in public and somebody else is in a public place, you can video record them. Now, I don't just video record average people unless they get in the way of me recording the government. I don't care about average individuals. I have disdain for most average individuals. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't want to have anything to do with your family members. I don't want to have anything to do with anything you have to do with. I reject society as it stands in every sort of way, and I can't be any more clear about the reason why. And it is abundantly clear this is a criminal society based in usury. David, the connection on your end is not all that great. Are you on Skype as well?
No, I'm on just a regular.
Now it sounds good. Yeah, now it sounds all right. But it was coming through like a staticky. But
Okay, I won't hold myself so close. But anyway, see, there's solutions to this. That's what we try to base our show on, because everybody else just tells you the problem. And see, this is part of the problem. Because when I first started getting into all this and finding out all this information, I wanted to do everything I can to be in any sort of position to try and do something about it. Now, everybody else just talks about, we got to wake people up. What does that actually mean? Not everybody is going to wake people a bit, so you got to move beyond that and start focusing on the ones that are capable of obtaining this knowledge. Now, the militia is the solution. There are many who write on the hidden hand that enslaves the planet. However, few offer solutions to neutralize the persons and institutions which carry on the global tyranny. We as the militia will offer not only but also how in regard to destroy the unlawful criminal entity that runs this one world government based on money and usury. The institutions that can...
David, can you call into the show? Is that possible? Because that's the best connection. I would love to have, when we get, I think we're going to have another caller calling in. I mean, and I'm on Skype now too. That didn't work last week, but it's working this week. So we're on multiple devices here. I'm on 3 different devices all at once, which is a real, it's a real pain to do this. We don't, for free, basically, except for it costs us money to operate this stuff. If you could call in, that's always the best connection, because it's cutting in and out. And yeah, I'm inviting you right now, David. If we can get that, I'm gonna add you, and hopefully this will get us to where we want to go as far as having folks be able to hear us loud and clear. Let's see what is going on with this. Oh, okay, I see what's going on with this. It's still saying connecting. Oh, wow.
Excellent. Here we are.
All right, we got David on. So we're getting a little bit of feedback, as you can hear.
Hello.
Yeah, I hear you good, David. I hear you good. What about the feedback? What's going on with that?
No, that's gone now. That was probably because I had I still had the phone line open, but I done closed the line.
Okay. All right, here. I'm trying to get on Facebook. Hey, I'm not able to see what's going on. What's with the feedback?
I don't know what's with that feedback.
Okay. I'm just gonna have to. So go ahead and
Okay.
Let me see if this works.
Okay.
Okay, test. Something needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, I really don't know what needs to be adjusted. Look, we're already wasting. If you want me to get back.
Go ahead, David.
All right. There are many who write on the hidden hand that enslaves the planet. However, few offer solutions to neutralize the persons and institutions that carry out this global tyranny. We, as the militia, will not only offer the why, but also how in regard to destroying the unlawful criminal entity that runs this one world government. The institutions that control government exist in violation of the law and must be neutralized. In addition to writing about the unlawful nature of the government, we also put a bullseye on their owners / offices. You know, officers. Sorry, thank you, Chris. Which means 24-hour surveillance. As you once said before, I want to clarify it for everybody. For every DHS agent, there will be at least 1 to 2 militiamen monitoring and guarding him, and eventually, all these institutions that the militia must take control of will eventually dissolve into the militia. Now, see, simple concepts that Chris has came up with and has forwarded it to everybody else. These are simple things. It's not like we're going to get rid of all the structures and institutions. We're going to hand them over to the people, and then the ones that have been found most destructive, most inadequate, and most wasteful, that we'll definitely make sure that they'll never be able to operate again. You know, as biblically, you can say this is, we will tear down every pagan tree, as it says in the Bible, and you think of these pagan trees as the government. This is the Antichrist, Satan government that we are trying to get rid of, and this militia handbook is the equivalent of what God is conveying in the Bible, but in a better way, so that man may understand it. If that makes sense to you, Chris, because it's all pushing for the same thing.
It's written in real simple language. It is coming from my end.
I don't know what it is because everything's shut down on my end.
It's this. I've got the volume all the way up. How does it sound on Facebook?
It sounded good on Facebook from my end.
Okay. So then I'm just going to. So this is written in simple language. Mm-hmm. It is unambiguous. This is the militia handbook. This is the solution to all the problems that we talked about before. And let's see. That's just really strange.
I know.
Test.
We can't ever.
I know. We can't ever get through a program without technical difficulties.
Yeah, but we're not paid by government money to entertain everyone.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that this is some sort of quasi attack. They like to make these funny little things to just throw a monkey wrench in the operation. And unfortunately, they're successful in some ways in doing that. But beyond that, did you just adjust something?
No, I didn't. Look, let me get back on the phone line because we seem to be having problems like this. If that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they got people saying that they're having it's echoing real bad.
Okay. Yeah, just get on the phone line.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I may sound. Hey, the sound is back to normal. I guess that they didn't want to have multiple people on Facebook Live with us there. So let's just again go over real quick what it is that David was reading, and it's from the Militia and Solution chapter of the book called The Militia Handbook, which you can get online. You can just enter the words Militia Handbook into a internet search, and one shall find it. Let's see. As members of the militia, it is the duty of all not only to arm themselves with guns, but also, more importantly, with wisdom and a video camera. Let's skip to the part where it talks about, the government has made clear they are unlawfully spying on the people. The militia, in response, will expand our video surveillance of corporate and government leaders. Not only will the militia stake out and record our enemies while lawfully carrying firearms, we will open source the names and addresses of our surveillance targets to the body of the people. Through current technology, we have the capacity to monitor those who give the orders for the institutions that control government, the criminal government, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay. Why on earth would anybody disagree with this in any sort of way? It's so absurd. All the solutions are there. You have to be a dummy not to know this stuff. I'm not going to say, we should. I always advocate not aggrandizing human beings as being geniuses or very intelligent, etc., etc., etc. I'm not going to say I'm super smart. I'm just not going to say it. I'm just going to say I'm not a dum-dum. Like, there's a problem. This is a big problem. It's the hugest problem. The government is a criminal terroristic organization. It lies about everything. It wages war against the people in every sort of way, and it wishes to annihilate whatever 99% of the human population, according to United Nations agenda. That monuments standing in the state of Georgia called the Georgia Guidestones. I guess that's what they call it. I don't know who named it that, but I know for a fact that there's a big monument talking about killing everybody. And knowing that, you're like, wow, what's going on with that? Maybe I should look into this stuff. And then once you realize what's going on, you're like, oh, this is a real issue and problem. Okay. Turn up Blog Talk. Okay, it's up. It's up, David. And when you realize it's such an issue and a problem, and you look into it, and come to find out that everything that's being claimed is verifiable. It's written into a plan. And you're not thinking about going after the enemy, even when you go to your crap job where you do nothing but serve the devil. You serve the adversary every day at your crappy corporate job. Nobody doesn't do that. Somebody can go, I'm a social worker. You serve Satan. I'm a minister. You're a minister for the devil. You exist for monetary purposes. You don't exist for any other purposes but monetary purposes when serving in this criminal government. And money doesn't mean anything. I really, we wish, we very clearly stake our claim on the most valuable pieces of property on the planet. But don't come talking to me about money or taxes, or bonds, or insurance. All that stuff is meaningless. That's just different ways to trick and confuse you into financial. We stake our lawful claim and really comprehend what the levers of power are out there and who's wielding them. But don't be stupid enough to go, hey, these guys, nobody can claim we're after money. We're not after money. Money's worthless. Money's valueless. I already have my mono eye wide open. I have all the mono eye I need. I know how to, connect the union between the female and male centers of the brain, right in the middle of, where it synthesizes in my mono eye, my money. All here. All that money can buy. It can't buy, peace of mind. It cannot buy knowledge. It cannot buy, mental freedom and liberty and overcoming the bonds of mental slavery and literal slavery in the largest police and prison state in the history of humanity. No, there's been no more incarcerated society than the society we live in right now. They're telling you that they're engaged in war. All right, we got David on the line here. Yeah, this might be the best way to do it, David. This might be the best way to broadcast.
Did you turn the blog talk up?
It's up full blast, David.
It is? Yeah, it's like it went blank. It's not, the sound's not coming out.
Well, you know what? This is better anyways, because the sound's coming through much clearer through my old school dumb phone.
Yeah. All right, well, guess we'll have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, we got no problem doing that, David. This sound anyways. We probably should have done this from the beginning. Hey, we got lots of viewers today. Sorry about the technicals, but I'm not going to apologize too much. Again, it's laid out there. We're not making money off of this. I never turned down money for work, but what we're talking about is all the most valuable assets on the planet. That's what we're claiming stake to. That we claim that. That's ours. And those who have it now have usurped authority to control that. They've stolen it from the people. All the valuable assets of this land belong to we the people. They don't belong to the government. What are the most valuable assets? Well, what's in the bank vaults? The land. That's the most valuable, is the land. And what controls the land? The weapons of war. David, hey, try to call back. David, we got you on the other line. But
Yeah, I got a text with this phone.
Okay. So all the valuable assets we have claim to. It's our lawful property. We the people, it's our lawful property. But when you say you own something, another thing that they're obfuscating on this 14th Amendment thing, they're talking about citizen birthright. Our birthrights come from God. They do not come from any government. A government cannot give a birthright. A birthright does not come from a government. A birthright comes from God. It doesn't say it is the birthright of all citizens to have privileges under the Constitution for the United States. It says, we the people ordain this Constitution for the United States for ourselves and our posterity. We ordain it. It doesn't say we will get privileges from this government and so will our posterity. It's clear. If this is the simplest matter of government. This is 101. Like when we talk about 101, the binary digit 555, like the 555 foot high phallic symbol that is planted right between Virginia and Maryland, right between two allegorical state names for the Virgin Mary, and this 555 foot phallic symbol called the Washington Monument is put up right there, reflecting on the waters. You can see its reflection in the waters. It's all an allegory, all an allegory to this kind of, I don't know, Masonic word tricks, ancient Egyptian word tricks, and it can be used for good and it can be used for evil. These guys use it exclusively for evil. But anyways, 101, we're talking about God, and you cannot be subject to a government, and you cannot be punished for anything unless a man or woman has been done harm by you, unless they claim that you've done harm to, and if they do, they have to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that's wherein lies the English common law. And what we have now is completely backward times in an extremely simple manner. And they hate it when we say, hey, we got lots of viewers tonight. So they black us out for, I don't know, a minute or so. And then we come back and what do we have? We have about a quarter of the viewers that we had when we started going into a reconnect mode and blacked out for a while. So we're back. And what we're saying again and over again is the basis of every comprehension of legitimate government is that all power is vested and derived from the people. That God creates man and man creates government. And when I'm referencing man, just as we do in this book, we're talking about the first page of the Bible. And what does that mean? It comes from Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Okay. So when I say man, that's what I mean. And if you give authority over to anyone else, they shall take it. And it is a small group of Jewish mobsters that controls all the world's government. Hey, guys, we went through all this stage stuff about this Pittsburgh shooting. We know that the caravan and the troop deployment is a backdoor Trojan horse to implement the FEMA camps in overdrive. It's what they were training for. When they did Jade Helm and Unconventional Warfare Exercise 16, those aren't just drills. Everything is a drill. Everything is practice. Like, the best practice for doing a show is doing a program. The best practice for being on TV is being on TV. The best practice for public speaking is public speaking. So, but yet, for every public speaking, every theatrical performance, etc., you need a drill. Just like the drill we talked about at the Tree of Life Synagogue. What's with the Tree of Life? Oh, that's Kabbalistic. That's the most Kabbalistic symbol you can have. Oh yeah, Robert Bowers. Oh wow, that sounds like Bauer. And it's the anglicized version of the last name Bauer, which is the name that the Rothschild family had before they changed their name to Rothschild. So you see all this coding in there. You see it out there. The Saturday Night Live. Yeah, go for it, David.
This is nothing new, people.
Nothing new.
I mean, what do you think the Bible and ancient history talks about? It talks directly about how it's pretty obvious, or it's the norm that there is a global government. I mean, it mentions that Revelations, and not only that, it mentions that the courts are a sham. There's no honesty. There's There's no real justice, and there's even times where it talks about where men they haven't been given the ability to speak or convey themselves, directly. So, again, Chris, this is probably a good time to play that clip. It's about 4 minutes long,
all right, let's go for it then, David. Yeah, go for it. Okay, we got a clip David's going to play, and it's talking about how everything in society is based in usury, and it goes against the Bible, and it's antithetical to the Word of God and everything that is good and honorable. Is that a good...
Long story short, we're supposed to use God's law as a pattern for living, and he'll be able to say that better. This is Pastor Swift in the early 60s.
David, we can't make that out, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can... You sent me that clip somewhere, didn't you?
Yeah, I sent you the clip.
Okay, where did you send it to me?
Facebook message.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook on the computer. Everything else is being used up.
Anyway, as you try to look for it, I'll explain how there's certain laws. A law, as we explained before, a law means you need food and water to survive. That's a law. You give in. You put in kindness to others, you'll receive kindness back. Now, government is there to restrain the certain abilities of man. Like, let's say, for instance, a man does somebody wrong, which is an injustice. Well, a man who has done somebody with an injustice, he's not going to be quick to condemn himself. So therefore, that's when the community or the people step in to make the decision in a controversial case. Notice they make everything in society a controversy. Every time you go to court, it's a controversy, and it's the same thing with laws. They try to act like the drunk driving laws and the drug laws, as controversial as they are, they're accepted. Life is not supposed to have this many unnecessary. I'll admit, life is can be one big contradiction. There is everything, but what they do is manufacture contradictions with trying to regulate the natural abilities of man. Like, for instance, the best example I can give of this is the drunk driving laws. Like, for instance, they want to process you for a crime that may or may not happen. Now, for instance, if somebody is over the legal limit, but yet they still make it home and they didn't hurt anybody, does that still constitute him to be separated from his family just because the local governmental municipalities call for it? In order to enforce arbitrary laws, as ridiculous as they are, that constitutes a revolution of government against the people. So I mean,
well, David, hey, let's put this. I mean, I'll do my best, I should say, to put this plainly. In order for a crime to take place, there must be a victim. The state can never be a victim. The state can never be a legitimate victim under the common law. You can't commit a crime against the state. You can commit crime against people. So, as we are constantly saying, God creates man and man creates government. And any group of individuals, and I'm not one of them, I say over and over again, to the highest levels of the government I can find. And the highest levels of government I can find, they're higher than the highest levels of government that you can find. And I'm just putting that as plainly as possible. that I have nothing to do with it. I see what they're doing, and it's not because I'm so smart. It's just because I'm not a big dum-dum. Like, you have to be a moron to go along or believe anything the government tells you. Which reminds me of, and I'm not a fan of George Carlin, as far as I think he was like a great human being, but you know, he was prophetic in his statements, and I'll paraphrase him. You know, think about how stupid the average person is, and then think that half the people are dumber than him. And the next truism that he said, that this is stuff you can just kind of go back on. I don't ever believe anything the government says. Not one thing. I don't ever believe it. I would have to be an idiot to do so. You have to be a big, grade A sucker. Like in those old cartoons. They don't show them anymore, but I grew up with them. And it used to, like, you know, I mean, they're messed up. They're whacked out, these cartoons. They're violent. They're probably not the good way to be, but you remember when somebody would get fooled with something stupid and they'd make their head turn into like a gigantic like lollipop because they're a sucker, or makes their face turn it into like a donkey, no offense to barnyard animals, because they're a jackass, because they're so stupid that they fell for this nonsense. That's what everyone who believes anything about what the government says, participates in juries, participates in any sort of way, and doesn't just scream from the mountaintops at the top of their lungs nonstop, this government is criminal. I mean, I don't know what else to say, because I don't really, it's so rude what I have to say. But my lack of respect for others who portray that they're doing the same thing that we're doing. You're not. You're not even doing anything close. The further you veer away from exactly what we're saying, the less consequence and the less people who should listen to you. I mean, it's as simple as that. This stuff is simple. How do we overtake this criminal government? The same way you do anything. You make a lawful stand. You say, this is our property, and it's time that this property, this most valuable property, all the weapons of war, the issuance of currency, the valuation thereof, and the public airways are handed back over to the people. Man, when I made a video, maybe 45 minutes into the, you know, after the shooting took place, about 10 or 15 minutes after the shooting was announced on television, and laid out all the reasons why this was a staged event and it started going viral. It took them 30 minutes, YouTube 30 minutes, to restrict it, to take all the comments down saying, yeah, you're right, Chris. Oh yeah, 100%. Complete fake, complete hoax. Everybody agreeing. You can't see how many likes? It was 100% likes. No dislikes. So what do they want to hide? They want to hide that millions of people know this information and are getting the exact direct truth. How can they do that? They just hide the number of folks that click like on the videos or comment saying, we agree 100%. You would have to be a moron to fall for this staged Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. You would have to be a big-time moron. And the folks exposing that, like, I dislike them. You know, the other quote-unquote false flag YouTube pages and stuff like that, with the exception of maybe like Ziggy. Man, I can't stand these guys. I can't stand them. Nothing's original. They twist everything up. They're limited hangouts. All of them, limited hangouts. I mean, I still get emails from Renegade Broadcasting, and they have their Saturday night Renegade Roundtable, which has really gone downhill since I was the normal host and participant of the Renegade Roundtable, because when I would host, there would be, I don't know, sometimes 15 callers, sometimes 20 callers on the line. And when everybody else did it, it was like, I don't know, two callers, one caller. Hardly anyone. But to finish this thought, I'm getting an email, and what's the email say? Oh, all my talking points from the 3 videos that I made as soon as all the stories broke. I was breaking all the stories about this staged Pittsburgh Synagogue, Tree of Life, Squirrel Hill, false flag operation, and our enemies, they gotta go like, okay, well, we gotta say exactly what he says. That's fine. We put it out there. Like, yeah, it's pathetic. It's real pathetic that these guys can't come up with this stuff on their own. They don't have the ability. They don't have the confidence in their work to be able to do that. So,
and their job is to only copy what you say and say the most important parts. And sometimes I get the feeling if it wasn't for you breaking these stories, that they wouldn't, maybe they wouldn't be known as much, because what I
right.
see, people, they're forced to react. Oh, but Chris, real quick,
yeah,
I set up my phone in a way where I can try to cue up that audio again. Now, if it doesn't work this time, we're just going to continue the show. And
okay, yeah, let's get right to it. This is Reverend Wesley Swift, who I was unaware of before a few days ago. So go ahead, David.
Regardless of the man, he's got a great message for 4 minutes that everybody needs to hear in one of his sections. And here we go. Okay, loading, the little wheels spinning. Here we go. All right, Chris, it ain't gonna work, but anyway, I'm gonna leave a link in the description.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Definitely leave a link in the description. Basically, usury is banned in the Bible, and that is the basis of all of these so-called churches, is usury. They measure their accomplishments through finance and money laundering. I mean, that's what churches are. I mean, there is no church out there that's not a usury-based money laundering operation. But everything's a money laundering operation in this, because there is no clean money in society. There's no clean money in society. Hey, I guess y'all saw that that the former head of the DOD and National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, is reported by the New York Post to be cleared in the Russia probe, which seems real strange considering all of the evidence that we have discussed that is against him. I mean, they cannot clear him. Just what's known to the public, he's guilty as is all get out. I mean, there's video. There's video of him being guilty. I mean, I see him sitting next to Vladimir Putin. I mean, it is really it's a real man, it's a real travesty, you know, how everybody is so distracted, but it all comes back down to these certain issues of usury, issues of war against the people, issues of treason, issues of abomination against the natural law. David gave an example of, hey, one of the most obvious natural laws is human beings require air and water to survive. That's a natural law. Those are taken away, human being cannot survive. That's a natural law. Natural law. And the other natural law is God gave us all the right to self-preservation. We can all survive. And as soon as one entity or a person or a group of persons gets in the way of our ability to survive, stealing our property, waging war against us, attempted murder, spraying poison, poisoning our food, poisoning our water, then according to the English common law, it is our duty to do everything that we can to subdue and neutralize them in every sense of the word. That's what the law says. That's what John Locke says. John Locke's writings are the basis of the Constitution for the United States. It's the basis for the Declaration of Independence. It's the basis for our modern day English common law. That's what the Constitution says. It is our God-given right to neutralize that which attempts to take our lives and or rob us or to put us into a state of slavery. So that's it. The end of discussion. No, there's nobody who debates on this subject. There's nobody who debates on this subject. There's no other, who was saying it about, I think it's Patrick. Let's see, who is it? Full House. Yeah, thanks. That was Full House. Whatever. I'm glad I don't know what the name of that show is. Yeah, Shane Smith, you're right. Yeah, no doubt. The NSA can't record multiple lines, apparently. I don't know what that means, but they certainly can. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to look and find some okay. Adam Bees is yeah, I don't know about Adam Bees. The absolutions, although we all know that they are no absolutes when dealing with man, which is why there are variables. That's true. Patrick John Baptiste, yeah, he's basically calling those dudes are just doing it for a check. They have their little niche and they hang on to it. Those channels are lame. Talking about all YouTube channels. I saw another one today. Somebody posted Timothy Simmons posted, and like I like his posts, but like, man, how can you pay attention to that many shill channels? I mean, really. I saw a channel today where 16 hours ago some guy posted a video talking about how media and so-called law enforcement were referring to the Pittsburgh synagogue shooter as an actor. I saw that within an hour of the coverage, and I just thought, this is not as important. I don't want to get my other stuff muddied down. Yeah, they're calling him an actor. They do that every time. And this guy just put it out 16 hours ago, and already his this guy, I don't even remember what the channel was, he's got more views than all the other Pittsburgh synagogue false flag shooting videos. He's 6 days late. So what does that tell you? I mean, what does that freaking tell you? It tells you that it's just a bunch of nonsense. And by the time all the shills have got it out there and the masses catch up on to what we're saying now, we're already on to the next thing. And that stuff is yesterday's news. This is in real time what we're doing here. We don't work with a script. We don't wait days later. We don't take vacations to Israel and Italy and pretend like we're well financed by our subscribers. Give me a break. Give me a break. You can't jet set around the world writing books telling the truth. You can't jet set around the world telling the truth on the internet. I'm the only one I have as an example. I won't vouch for anybody else even telling the truth on the internet. I will say I'm telling you the truth on the internet, and I don't care who believes it or who doesn't believe it. This is matter of fact stuff. If you don't believe me, good, then you've exposed yourself as an idiot. Because it's not about believing me as an individual. You may not like me. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But that doesn't change the fact that this stuff is so obvious. Nobody else points it out. I mean, it's possible that somebody might be able to point this stuff out exactly. Either that or they don't have the knowledge, and if they do, they're in on it. I mean, we see cops on this show all the time. I got folks close to me in the same military organization that are, that try to pump me for information like a rat. Like a rat, and then post on my social media sites that they're tied in with Israeli intelligence. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what they're doing. The rest of you guys, you're jokers.
Guess what, Chris? Governor John Bell Edwards of Louisiana, my state. Guess where he just came back from a journey to.
Well, I'm going to guess Israel, yeah. David says Israel, yeah.
Guess what he was meeting about? Two key things. Oil production in Louisiana and IT security.
That's right. I mean...
Yeah, what else is in Israel? Military, industrial, and IT.
Military industrial is IT. That's the highest level of military industrial is information technology. That's what runs the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. Every state's got it. I mean, every state's got that Jewish Mafia IT cartel. So yeah, it's not surprising, but yeah. Repeat that again. The governor's name there.
Oh, Governor John Bell Edwards of Louisiana.
Governor John Bell Edwards just came back from the enemy of the American people, the location of the Synagogue of Satan, the Rothschild Mafia homeland. It's not their homeland, but it is their usurped land, I should say. And he's guilty of treason. I mean, somebody, if the people of Louisiana and every other state weren't degenerate, they would arrest the governor and surround the governor's house with guns lawfully and arrest him, put him on trial, and put him on trial for treason. So, this is a grand jury hearing, as always. This is a grand jury hearing. So we've convicted everybody already. We continue to do this over and over again. And every time we invoke the fact that we are a grand jury, and when we say, firing squads for all lawful firing squads are what is required by the Constitution, and that we have convicted these individuals, what's the next? There is nothing. Either you're saying this or you're saying nothing. And when you're saying this, you're just following exactly what we're saying. And if you don't do it to the T, we repudiate you.
Yeah, Chris, how many times have we been through this? Well, okay, you'll go on somebody's radio program where they invited you on, and you tell them all this. Don't you think we need to investigate them first? We already did that. Don't you think we need proof? We already have that. Don't you think, it's like, all these monkey wrenches they throw, we need, but it needs to be in some kind of official capacity. How much more official can it be than what we are now? And how much more unofficial could it be if we did what, those idiots advocated?
Right.
One thing that comes to mind is Stormfront Radio. Remember those guys over and over again. You told them the exact solution, right? But I think Stormfront is going to save humanity. We just told you what's going to save humanity. I mean, this is just an idea of what we deal with.
I mean, they hear it. Like, David, it's good to remind people, but, I mean, thousands of people heard that, and it's the same people that I see commenting, here, listen to that, and more, So when they pretend like they don't know what we're talking about, blah, 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 hey, that boycott, divest, and whatever, BDS, like, those guys are all, they're not on our team. Boycotting doesn't work. You can't boycott Israel. You can't run a computer and boycott Israel. You can't plug a computer into the computer screen, boycott Israel. That's not going to work. It's a distraction. It's a distraction. So why talk about these distractions? Let's see. Terms like Zionist and BDS supporters, anti-Israel. Like, this is like the fake fights among the fake parties. Yeah, I mean, New Jersey, you think some governor of New Jersey is going to not commit treason on behalf of Israel? But, yeah, I mean, definitely, let's see. New Jersey, Governor, see, we do people's work for him, of New Jersey, Murphy, Israel. Yeah. Okay, let's see what comes up. Israel. So, like, it's all of them. And it's very interesting. I met former Virginia Governor Robert McDonald. Yeah, it says Phil Murphy is about to leave. This is, let's see. Governor Murphy leaving on trip to Israel and Germany. Officer of the Governor, New Jersey and Israel sign agreement. Let's see, what's this going on here?
Oh, by the way, Chris, speaking of that you meeting Bob McDonald.
Yeah, it was on the set of the movie Lincoln. We were in the Virginia State Capitol, the House chambers, and there were about 8 people in the room. And Bob McDonald walked in with the guy that's a producer for that Showtime politics show. I don't know what his name is, but I see him on TV all the time. And, of course, Christopher Dodd, who was then the head of the Motion Picture Association of America. And before that, he was the United States Senator from Connecticut. So, like I said, there were about 8 people in the large chamber. It's a pretty large chamber. And so I walked over to them, and I gave them an authoritative handshake. I squeezed their hand and gave them a stern look and twisted their wrist so that their hands were down in a prone position. And that's how I shake hands with these individuals. Either I shake hands with them and publicly show that I'm exerting my authority over them, or I don't touch them at all. I don't shake hands with them or anything like that. So I gave Bob McDonald a stern warning because he was leaving in 2 days to take a trip to Israel. And this was back in the fall of 2011, probably exactly, probably it seems like all these governors go to Israel about the same time, I guess year after year. Beginning of October, middle of October to end of October. So
a video of you on
No. That was a different interaction. That was my 3rd interaction with Bob McDonald. Okay. There is no video of the first interaction with Chris Dodd and and Bob McDonnell, because that was on a movie set. They wouldn't allow anybody to have their phones on the set there back in 2011. There's probably surveillance video of that, and I have been since then worked as part of my job as a television commentator at the Virginia State Capitol in the PBS studio, which is located at the Virginia State Capitol, and then started lecturing Bob McDonnell and Chris Dodd on their treason in regard to Israel, and gave a stern warning to Bob McDonnell that he is committing treason and he should not take his trip to Israel. And interestingly enough, his first appearance publicly on the movie set after he got back from Israel, there's a picture of myself and Bob McDonnell and then actor turned city councilman Parker Agalesto, and a witness who says when Bob McDonnell saw me on the set, I was dressed in a tuxedo, and of course was not armed with either a camera or a gun, but that Bob McDonnell's knees shook, because there is a war, and you either take one side or the other. You take the American side or you take the side of the Jew. And there's, there's no higher authority on either side than who's speaking to you right now. And so we talked to Christopher Dodd about 9/11 and about the, since he was banking and finance committee and implemented the Dodd-Frank Act, which was a result of the economic collapse and was alleged to be bank regulation. I discussed with him the massive short selling that was discovered by William Bergman of the Chicago Board of Review of the Chicago Federal Reserve Bank. The massive short selling, which was showing obvious insurance fraud by AIG, the Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank for International Settlements, and every subsidiary corporation and financial institution underneath those capstones on the financial pyramid. And he pretended he'd never heard that before, but he thanked me for that great information. And I said, I don't believe you don't know that. And I still to this day don't believe he doesn't know that. Because most everything that human beings engage in, when you get to this level of political discourse and political knowledge, is subtle and not subtle, lies, obfuscation, and pretend. LARPing, playing pretend, all this other stuff. There's no pretend. When I say I have a loaded gun and I'm outflanking all the government agents in a room lawfully, that's what I'm doing. For that purpose. For that purpose. And when they try to arrest me for that, they can't, because it's not illegal. It's not unlawful. It can't be unlawful in any sort of way. That's legal. To say, hey guys, I'm behind you. I've got a loaded gun. There's no other. I hold the strategic position, the military position in here. I hold the supreme martial position in this room. And that's what we talk about when we talk about armed militiamen for every Secret Service agent. For every government agent, there are two armed militiamen. For every government official, there are two armed people. A government official can never be a people. A government official can never be a part of the militia, according to George Mason.
Their lives matter less, according to the law.
Their lives don't matter at all. They have no rights. They're corporate bodies. They're walking dead people. They're walking corpses, just like they attempted to make us. So when you see all capitalized letters, that means it's a corporation. It's a corpse body, a dead body. And that's as simple as it is. we've explained this to them in detail. I can remember in 2009 and 2010 infiltrating a police group that was intent exclusively on carrying out treason in regard to taking people's gun rights away. I remember I used to sit at the head of the table. It was called Citizens of Greater Richmond Against Gun Violence. And I was the only non-government official on the board. And I used to sit at the head of the table and grill FBI special agents in charge, district attorney, Commonwealth's attorneys is what we call them here, cops, FBI agents, you name it. And then afterwards, I go, hey, you said I was wrong. Here's a copy of Black's Law Dictionary because we used to meet at the library at the police headquarters. They got Black's Law Dictionary there. I used to show them, this is what this means. If you disagree with me, you're wrong. That's what this means. You don't know the law. You have not dedicated your life to the law. And when you know you're wrong, you pretend like you're correct. See, these people play pretend. Like Christopher Dodd. I'd never heard about William Bergman. What, there was short selling before 9/11? There was wartime hoarding before 9/11? The New York, New Jersey Port Authority no longer controlled the World Trade Center, and then it was put into private Jewish hands. Frank Lowy and Larry Silverstein, and then they insured it to the hilt and imploded the building. I didn't know that, but thanks for telling me. Pretend. Because they can't go like, yeah, you're right. Like, myself and everybody else like me should be executed publicly for everything that we've done. Because they either have to agree with the facts, which that's the outcome of the facts. The facts are they're all guilty of treason, which is punishable by death. Or they have to pretend, either lie, look like a complete idiot, or pretend they never heard the information before. I mean, it's that simple. Hey, greetings, British Lebanese. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what's left to say? If people control the money, if people control the guns, or you're a slave. I mean, for instance, this world isn't based on people's life or labor, and labor is important because what do you? I mean, because there's certain measures people have to take to live a decent life. That's labor. You got to maintain your dwelling, your property, and which man has a right to own property? Because what else are we here for? If not to. Long story short, what do you think we were sent here in the first place to do if it wasn't to restore this earth into a place like heaven? Like we're making this living hell on earth, and they're trying to do everything they can to keep us from making it a living heaven on earth. Now, if you would find out this is a land of plenty without usury, because again, everything's based on money. It doesn't cost anything to like for instance, around where I live in Louisiana, there's blackberries. Certain seasons I can just walk outside and take as many blackberries as I want. My mother makes pies out of them, and there's all sorts of recipes. But the thing about that used to be the way all foods before it was domesticated. You used to just be able to walk out and grab here in a land of plenty. This is not a land of plenty anymore. This is a land of scarcity. People, I mean, the government's own 90% of farms now, whereas 100 years ago, it was the opposite, 10% were farmers. So, I mean, it won't be everything because you need food to survive, and what you put in your body and how it affects you culture, darknet. That's all devils. And in conclusion, God said you should make deal with devils. You are of your father, and they are of theirs. You know, he was very clear on that.
Right, right, and very clear that he meant the Jewish people, the Jewish persons, the Jewish entity, the Jewish plague, when he was saying, you are of your father. It doesn't say that the only devils on earth are Jews. It just means that the Jews are devils on earth. I mean, that's what the Bible says. Like, if you don't, it's not anti-Semitism. That's just what the Bible says. It doesn't say anything else except for that. Jews are the children of Satan. That's what it says in the Bible. Don't take it up with me. I didn't write the Bible. That's what the Bible says. Yeah, it looks like this guy, Phil Murphy in New Jersey, is another overt Chabad Lubavitch puppet. Yeah, he's meeting with Chabad Lubavitch leaders left and right. You know, I mean, these guys are a freaking joke. These nasty ass Chabad Lubavitch gangsters, and I mean, you can't subvert our message. You will not, and you cannot. And yeah, like we said, if you have all the food you want, you have a house to live in, you have, you know, the creature comforts. What do you need money for? You don't need money. Money is the way to take away your valuable property, because people used to own the land, and now they don't own the land. They own a mortgage, and they own credit card debt. But they certainly don't own any homes. They don't own anything because they're taxed on it. So, I mean, this is all based in usury. It's all unconstitutional. There is nothing Christian about this nation. There is nothing Christian about usury. There is nothing Christian about the government in any way. Any cops, you can't call yourself Christian. Any ministers, you can't call yourself Christian. Any ethnic Jew, you can't call yourself Christian, because our Bible, the Word of God, tells us as followers of Jesus Christ that we can't go into any agreement with you because you're of your father, the devil. A lie from the beginning. A lie from the beginning. You see, it all boils down to something very simple. When you say, like, yeah, you're like your father, the devil, what does that mean? That some dude with, like, horns and like, you know, spray painted red body and, like, you know, the prototypical, like, devil that you see in popular culture? No, it means, like, you come from the evil, the adversary of the natural law. That's all that means. We don't mean any, you know, when we call somebody demons, they're demons, I think. Yeah, they're human demons. But they go against the natural law. What does that mean? They're alive from the beginning. They're alive from the beginning. And if it's alive from the beginning, what does that mean? That no good can ever come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, get this. When God created his people, there was already the devils here from the beginning, because, again, we talk about, like, God replenished the earth, and you can't...
No. David, I'll disagree with you on that. God created the earth and everything in the earth, and it was good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I'm talking about in the beginning, the whole story of Adam.
Right. I mean, we have the chronology. I don't want folks to get confused, because I don't want them to get confused and misled on the basic allegories of saying, okay, God created, you know, all the animals. It did say here we're gonna finish on animal rights and the Bible and cannabis use mandated in the Bible. So you can't call yourself a Christian if you're not a vegetarian, or you can't call yourself a Bible follower or a Christian if you're not a vegetarian. and you're not you don't consume cannabis, or have consumed cannabis, or do still consume cannabis, or whatever. You can't, because it says on the first page, it says God, created the heaven and the earth, and he created the firmament, and also he said, let's see, let's see, where is it? And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God said it was good. Okay, so it's good. Animals aren't evil. They're good. Let's keep going. And God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Okay, dominion. Okay, dominion. It doesn't say eat this. It doesn't say torture this animal. It doesn't say, exploit this animal. It doesn't say any of those things. It says actually the opposite. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. We already covered that. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish. Replenish. So it's already plenished. It's replenish it. The earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Again, dominion over. That's obvious. That's a natural law. Man has the capacity to have dominion over all those things. So we're just talking about natural law. And God said, behold, I give you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth. Every herb. What's herb? Cannabis. Cannabis is herb. Over all, let's see, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. That is your meat. That's what you consume. That's what you consume. What is that? Every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree. And to the beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. We are included in that. It was, and it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And on the and the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Amen. We'll leave it there. The government must be abolished. It's an abomination before God. Anyone who supports it is a servant of the devil and guilty of treason. Thanks to David Dauterive. I thought this was a really good show. I really enjoyed this. And I can't always say that after a show. So we've armed you with all the information that you need. And anyone who follows our lead are the only legitimate people of God. Sorry we didn't hear from Clifford Eberhardt. Hopefully we'll get him on the show next week. Thanks for listening. Peace and God bless. This is Chris Dorsey, the Virginia Militia. We'll see you next week.